Thank you so much, and welcome everyone. We're all very excited to have this conversation with you today. And I just wanted to start really quickly with some housekeeping. If you would like to ask a question of the speakers today, please go ahead and drop it in the chat. For the first portion of this session, I'll be speaking with our two guests, and if there's something in the chat, I can bring that in. And then at the last half hour of our time today, we will open up to questions directly from you. And we really are looking forward to hearing from you and to having a great dialogue. I'd like to set the scene a little bit with a little bit about the New Jersey Agriculture Experiment Station. A lot of people will say that this is a great secret of Rutgers, but in reality, the Agriculture Extension Experiment Station was founded in 1880, and we're celebrating 144 years, one of the longest departments running in Rutgers. And the experiment station provides a really diverse range of programming for the entire state, from urban to suburban to rural and farming communities. And this department is outward facing. And what that means is that we focus on practical application research. We do service in the community and education, all with the goal of strengthening New Jersey. And the Cooperative Extension has offices in all 21 counties. So we're very, we're all over the place. And many of our faculty work really hard to collaborate with each other as they work in very different locations. So, and the things that we do range. We have 4-H programs, extension specialists, family and community health science educators, the agriculture and natural resources agents, and an office of continuing professional education, which supports the people working in the agriculture industry. And today, we're going to be speaking with Claudia Arroyo, who is an agriculture agent from Cape May. And her focus is about agrotourism and programming. And we're going to learn a lot about what's going on from an agent perspective. And then we have Ming-Yi Chou, who is an assistant extension specialist with the plant biology department. So I'd like to start by asking first Claudia to tell us a little bit about what it is to be an agent and what is your role with the extension.
Hi, thank you, Ruth. An agent is basically an expert or teacher that serves the whole state, but we're assigned to each of the counties within the state. And each expert, I guess, has a agriculture-related field of expertise or subfield, if you will. Like you mentioned, mine is agritourism because those are the particular needs of Cape May County. But this, of course, can change. Counties like Atlantic or Ocean have experts on aquaculture. And counties like Passaic, for example, may need someone who has more expertise on urban agriculture. So it really depends on the specific needs, but they're all agriculture-related topics fields of expertise.
Awesome. Well, we'll get back in a second to learn a little bit more about what agritourism is. But I'd like to switch to Ming-Yi and ask you the same question. You're an extension specialist. So tell us a little bit what that is.
Yeah, so basically an extension specialist is no different from the faculty in the department where the specialists just usually have an outstanding extension appointment, which means we have the mission of outreach, talk to people in the industry, especially the professionals. So our mission is no different from any faculty in the public university, which is to serve the public. It's just that the majority of audience, at least to me, is the industry professionals. So yeah.
So you are a turf grass guy.
Yeah, so I serve the industry of turf grass that includes, public green space, sports field, golf courses, and home loans. So, any professionals or even the general public who work in this area or just have a habit using those area, I I provide education materials and using scientific methods to improve the quality of all of those.
So what inspired you to become a turf grass specialist?
Yeah, so it's a very I grew up in Taiwan and we don't really have such an industry, but I was always fascinated about agriculture. So I decided to study agriculture, horticulture specifically in university. And then, it's kind of the opportunity took me, when I was out in the job market, after my PhD, I joined a lab that is a turf grass pathology program, and then I can kind of pick up turf grass from there. And actually, very interesting. By training, I was actually trained as a viticulturist who, grow grapes and make wine. But a lot of the plant physiology or microbial interactions surrounding the plants are they're similar, and the techniques we use are the same. So it's really applicable no matter what plant materials we're working on. So
Got it. And the program that you are participating in now is one of the largest of its kind in the US. Is that true?
yeah, so I mean, Rutgers has the biggest turf grass program, I would say, in the world. If you look at the number, 40% of the world's supply of turf grass seeds, they're Rutgers associated, so they're Rutgers cultivars. And you can see Rutgers turf cultivars almost anywhere in like Super Bowl or a FIFA Olympics, almost anywhere. So Rutgers is the #1 turf program in the US and also in the world.
Well, I didn't even know that. So that is really fascinating. And your research is mostly involved with disease management in turf grass. Is that correct?
Yes. So I work on disease. So like what I just mentioned, like the turf cultivars, I don't work directly in that area. So we have a turf breeder. Her name is Stacy Bonos, who work on that area. But I work on disease-related problems. So if there's anything you see like discoloration that is microbial derived, like that's all we commonly called disease, and that's in my area. So, and I work a lot with fungicide because fungicide is the #1 mean that people use to control diseases. So I work with turf grass industry plus chemical company.
Got it. And one of the questions that we're often asked in the extension field is about the nature of our research, which is mostly practical. We're not as much scholarly research as we are practical application research. Can you speak to that at all?
Yes. So actually, my program, I do a fair amount of fundamental research, basic research, but basically use that to fuel my practical research. So a lot of time in the world of practical research, there is lack of funding in some sense. There's actually more funding set aside for more fundamental, a bigger problem kind of research. So my strategy is usually, I'll have a theme and fundamental research, and then that's how I use to really bring in funding and fuel my practical research. For a lot of practical research, actually, the industry tell me what to do. What kind of problem they're facing, what disease they cannot solve, that they're seeing constant breakthrough of disease no matter what they do. And also the chemical company will tell me what to do because they're probably always in the front line of sniffing out what the problem is. So they will actually come to me and then with their developmental fungicide and tell me what the target diseases are. And then I will trial the developmental fungicide to see how to use them, what interval, what rate, and what timing to use those products.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Claudia, your focus of your research is agritourism. So if we have our turf specialty going on here, and then we kind of have a completely different area in agriculture in New Jersey is huge. So many people don't realize the extent of agriculture in this state. And so can you tell me a little bit about your work with the agriculture community?
Well, agritourism, it's I don't want to say new because it's been around for like 20 plus years. As a term, it's not really universally defined. It really depends on the place, but it's basically any recreational activity you may have in an agricultural setting. And so in terms of helping the agricultural community, sometimes it's a really good tool for education, for agricultural education, because that's always a concern, agricultural literacy, but also for marketing. Sometimes they want to get their name out there. They want to draw people in, to visit their farm stands or their farmers market, or just to get to know them. And so agritourism gives you that extra, I guess, reason why, right? It increases the appeal, and it can be more powerful than, let's just say, I'm just going all the way to the farm just to buy a pound of apples, rather than I'm going over there and having like a day experience, picking them up and spending some time with the family. And then I know that I can find really good apples there. And so next time, maybe I don't pick again, or maybe I do, but now I know they're there and I can tell other people about it.
Interesting. And are you finding that there is a new generation of farmers that are younger maybe and more interested in developing social kind of programming on their farms? Or it seems like it would be an important part of the sustainability of farms.
It is, as you mentioned, younger generations. I'm not going to put myself in that in that gap, but yeah, within my generation and younger generations, they are much more aware of sustainability issues or sustainable concerns, and also they're much more aware of kind of their role within their community and what they can do to contribute to that community. And so agriculture can be a big piece of that, right? Food security, and for preserving rural areas, for even preserving family heritage. There's a lot of family farms that over time have been lost because just agriculture sometimes is not enough to sustain them, right? Some commodities have dropped in price, and agritourism can kind of give that extra oomph that allows them to keep the farm in the family and continue operating.
All right. And what kind of agriculture industry is going on in your area? For those who are not familiar with what New Jersey is growing, what kind of farms are you working with?
There's a lot of berries going on around.
Oh, yeah.
Blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, but also a lot of fruit trees, peaches, apples, pears, and of course grapes. And that is also part of agritourism, because where there's vineyards, most likely there are winemakers, and they are a big draw for people. And so again, just that extra step, not just selling the wine, but offering us an experience. You can charge a premium, you can draw more people in. It's a great way to market your product.
Interesting. And I'm curious if there's a connection between the two of you with sod farms. Do we have a sod farm industry here in New Jersey?
Yes, we do. We have a pretty sizable sod farmer industry here in New Jersey, and then they produce. They're among the best in terms of quality, and they're always at the front line because they're usually very tightly associated with Rutgers, and then that's why they always get the first-hand most advanced education in terms of what cultivar to use and what problem people are facing. So a lot of time we'll have a disease-resistant or tolerant cultivars release, and then that they're just next door to one of our breeding farms, so they get the first-hand information on a lot of those. So they provide their sod to like a lot of the sports stadiums that for example, the MLBs or NFL or even the FIFA. So we do have a pretty good and high quality sod producing industry here in New Jersey.
Well, who knew?
Yeah.
So We have as part of our focus area, the Office of Continuing Professional Education. And do you participate with their programs, Ming-Yi?
I don't, but many of our, I think the majority of our turf faculties and specialists, they're part of the continuing education program. Because I'm new, they haven't put this important responsibility on me yet. But I can see in the future that will be part of my my responsibility as well. And that's that the industry professional, like I just mentioned, a lot of them actually graduate from Rutgers, and they take so much pride from this continuous education program. A lot of them are here for several weeks to 2-year program, and they wear that Rutgers hat forever. That's one of our really it's one of the programs that we brag about all the time in Turfgrass.
Yeah, I agree. Claudia, do you work with OCPE at all?
No, I haven't just yet. It's been more of in terms of creating our own programming and offering here at the RC office, but not just yet directly with that office. Mm-hmm.
But do you work with the Young Farmer program?
Not just yet. No,
Okay.
I think I'm still fairly new. I have, I guess, spoke at certain programs like Annie's Project. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's kind of a program directed to female farmers. So there are some where I can, I guess, provide an additional approach, to agricultural programs and agricultural education.
Got it. Can you tell us a little bit about that program?
I will do my best, but I'm not the expert on the program. But it is an education program directed at female farmers. So it offers, it looks to offer develop as many skills as possible in female farmers, in terms of budgeting and production and marketing. And that's kind of where I came in to participate as one of the speakers. But it's a very broad and overall just looking to, I guess, increase the opportunities for female farmers, because we're on the minority side of it. And so that would give them an alternative and an opportunity to improve their skills.
Well, that's fantastic. Tell me a little bit about the programming work and the community that you serve in Cape May. It's a very unique community in our state.
Yes, it is. Cape May County in general, it's a very it's a summer destination. So there's a little beach, a lot of those kind of businesses, but we also have farming. It's just not as massive as it is in other counties. So there's a lot of our population fluctuates. I want to say during the summer it multiplies. I think the latest number I saw was 700%. So it's massive, the amount of people we get during the summer. But passing the summer and the rest of the year, the community is very interested in horticulture and gardening. And for the last couple of years before I came here, there was no ag agent. So most of the programming in volunteer programs were not active or were operating not as they should have. And so my efforts since I started have been trying to reactivate those, right? To try to offer more opportunities for them to learn more about the skills. And every time we do a program, we do ask them at the end of it, what other topics are you interested in? And it's quite impressive to me, the things that they're interested in and how into them they get, like, composting and mushroom growing and beekeeping. And I think that's very unique to this community. I don't think that would work in any other county, but so we try to get them, experts and specialists and especially if we can found local ones, like they run businesses within the county, so that it's a much more direct link to, their particular
Yeah.
interests.
I really appreciate your efforts in that arena. And be one of your programs is part of my area of expertise. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the 2 volunteer programs that you are working to really get up and running down there?
Yeah, one is the Rutgers Master Gardeners volunteer program. They get like a core training about horticulture, gardening in general, and then they work. Basically, they're like ambassadors, I guess, of Rutgers, and they also help the community. They do a lot of outreach, a lot of education. Just participating not just in events and getting the word out about us, but actually like answering gardening questions. It's my expertise is agritourism. So when I go to these events and someone comes up to me and started asking questions about how to grow a certain flower, I'm dumbfounded. I don't know. I defer to my volunteers, and so they do a really, really great job. They're very well, they're very knowledgeable about it, and so that's the fun part for me, seeing them in their element and helping out all these people, because there might be a lot of people that maybe don't have time to come to a specific class, but they are at these little fairs and events, and they come up with questions, and we are able to help them out.
Yeah, the Master Gardener program is huge in the state of New Jersey. There are over 1,000 volunteers who gave over $4 million of valued service every year, and pounds of food to food banks. And one of the things that I think is really, for the cooperative extension offices, a tremendous value that is one of our best kept secrets is the helpline, where people can call in or come in with health questions, or like, what should I do with this plant, or how can I better design a garden? And Master Gardener volunteers will just give them personal attention. And this is a free service to the community that's run out of every extension office. And then you support their work by being a fabulous mentor to them. So well done.
No, thank you.
You
like
also
I said, they are the experts. Honestly, I'm just offering the support, but they're the ones that know how to deal with all the plants and the bugs.
You also have the steward program.
Yes, the environmental steward program. I think it is the first time that Cape May County is participating. It's similar in the sense that it does offer a core training of theory. It's complemented with some field trips, but at the end, it's similar in that at the end they complete a project and they become they obtain certificates. They become volunteers, and again, doing outreach and education related to environmental issues and natural resources topics. Given the particularities of our county, that's particularly relevant, right? We have the marshes and the ocean, and we are that I don't know how to call it, that migration.
The migration pathway.
Exactly, migration pathway for birds, for monarch butterflies. So there's a lot of that going on, and that again, that it's really important that we get that opportunity to have these people come out and talk about these topics, but also share information and answer questions, because some people, some residents, community members are interested in these. They just don't know what to do about it, and that's where our volunteers come in.
Well, and it's been very interesting, the things that are going on in Cape May, because now the USDA planting zone has been changed, and for the first time, Zone 8 has now moved into the state in southern New Jersey. And so we've got some work to do about revamping training. And I think one of the challenges of a department like ours is that we have statewide goals, but then the counties are different. And then even within the counties, the different local communities are different. And so we have statewide goals, but that have specific community content. I mean, it's really a challenge for us. And you are separate from your peer agents. So can you tell me a little bit about how the extension, how do you work with other agents, or how we work on county-based statewide programs?
Yeah, it can be a little isolating because I'm in the southernmost county of the state, but the I guess the network of agriculture agents, it's quite supportive. Like I mentioned, I have a specific topic of that I'm an expert in, and so when I come up with inquiries or questions about different things, I know that I can ask my peers in other counties, even if they're not in other counties, to try to help out our residents. And they do the same thing with me, right? If they have a particular inquiry about something related to agritourism, they can come to me. I don't spend a whole lot of time on campus. As someone might assume, I actually go there very, very seldom. But that doesn't mean that I am disconnected from my peers or from other agents or the department. I mean, Zoom has been a great tool, but we do have other, not as frequent, but there are other opportunities to meet in person and collaborate and try to support each other and be part of each other's projects and efforts.
Gotcha. And then Ming-Yi, you're on campus, but are you at research farms, or tell me a little bit about your daily life and what you're doing and where you're located.
Yeah, so I'm on Cook campus. So my office and my research lab is actually on campus, but there is a horticultural research farm next to campus. It's by the Writers Lane. It's like 5 minutes away by driving from my office. So that's where I operate a lot of my fungicide trial over there, and that is the probably the biggest fungicide testing program for turfgrass in the US. And then so like my daily life from the spring to end of fall, basically I will start my day over there in the farm from maybe 6 or 7 till about noon or 1 o'clock, and then come back to my office, and then so work on computer and also the lab works. So I work on both sides, and then during the growing season, like starting from now, I travel around to visit different turfgrass managers for collaborations or for taking samples for my research projects. So like this morning, I just visited a golf course superintendent trying to get some specific samples from them. So we set a plan, and then we have a research project going on with the industry people. So actually using the real world sample in our research, so that we can generate information that's most relevant to what's happening in the real world. Yeah.
So what is happening in the real world in turf science?
Yeah. So for me, I'm focusing on disease, and in New Jersey, it's so interesting because it's a transition zone. Like you just talk about like the different climate zone. We're in the transition zone, so we get cool climate diseases, but we also get warm climate diseases. So basically like a petri dish of all pathogen, whatever pathogens in the States, we can get it. So like now on turf grasses, there are diseases like fairy ring. So if you're not familiar with that term, if you look at your lawn, sometimes you'll see a beautiful ring with mushroom popping out. That is the fairy ring. And then and then there would be brown ring patch, would be take hole patch probably coming soon as well. And then in another month, the biggest or the most problematic foliar pathogen will start. It's called dollar spot. And then, just name any month, we have all sorts of diseases. I can give you a laundry list of diseases to look out for. And that's a problem. Like, a lot of time people find a disease or send pictures to me, or I just can't go through all of them and answer all the questions. And then that's a good opportunity for me to work with like the county agent, because while I'm like overwhelmed with all those owner questions. I just can't answer all of those questions. And a lot of times
Sure.
they're like really locally relevant. So I don't know all
Mhm.
the locations and those information. So that's when I will point them towards the county agent. They probably know their environment better, know what are the
Mhm.
most common diseases in their area. So I actually do that fair amount, and that's how the county agent supports me a lot for the
Nice.
most part. And then I try to do my best to support the county agent. For example, each different region they'll host winter events like Northern Jersey would be Northern Jersey Turfgrass and Ornamental Conference, and then I would go there and to provide my 2 cents in the
Yeah.
educational program. So that's a way how we collaborate.
So it's interesting. There is another project right now focusing on stilt grass, but there's ways that all the agencies and the master gardeners can work together. For example, we get calls all the time through the helpline about what's going on with my turf in my yard. And
Yeah.
that provides real-time data about what is actually going on throughout New Jersey. And we can filter this kind of real-time data to the scientists who can respond with practical data. I think this is so unique and so important that we have this statewide capability. And sometimes it's amazing the real-time data of what's insect pests that are out, fungicide, fungal infections in things like lawns. Turf is it's a big industry, but it's also big in the homeowner field
Yeah.
as well. So we
It
just have
is.
so much to do.
Yeah, definitely. It was very interesting. I just want to touch a little bit on what you mentioned, the OCP program, because the director there, I don't know if you know her, it's Dr. Karen Pompley, and then she's actually trained as a turf grass pathologist. So there's a link there. She's the first PhD student, PhD graduate from my predecessor. So there is a very strong link with the turf program here with the OCPE.
That's great. I think Karen is fantastic, and her vision for the continuing professional education program is really taking that program to a new level. It's really fantastic. We got
Definitely.
a question in the chat about whether either of you work with 4-H groups or do any work with youth. Can either of you speak to that? And it could be no. I mean, that's okay too. The 4-H program, I think a lot of people are unfamiliar with it, and they think of county fairs and giant vegetable competitions. But the 4-H program is really so much more significant than that. They're about youth education. And if they do all STEM activities, youth business, Future Business Association work. They do all kinds of really great programs with youth. Do either of you work with those programs?
I have not had the opportunity to yet. I can see the intersections, and I think it would be great to work with them. I just haven't had the chances yet.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. But in my previous positions, I have opportunity to host groups from 4-H program and for them and talk about what the potential agricultural opportunities are for the younger generations, and especially in turfgrass world. A lot of the turfgrass managers are really really highly paid, and that requires a very specific skill set. But we're really lacking that talent group from this pool of people in the job market right now. That's partially because not in our education system, nobody really implant that idea of turfgrass being a professional career earlier. So I think there is definitely an opportunity there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a challenge in a department that is physically separated, and then we have our sub areas, including the family community health sciences, which do a lot of work with what happens to our agriculture produce when it goes to market, and food security and community gardens. And then we have our ag agents and all these different groups. And I think one of the future visions for us is to try and help those connections, or those ways that we can all work together. I think we have the potential of even doing greater things. There's another question that's come through the chat about whether, let's see, I'm just going to read it, that you mentioned, probably Ming-Yi, to the, do we have anything to do with the World Cup in 2 years? And if so, does that mean that Rutgers will have a role to play in the World Cup this year, especially since New Jersey is hosting in the final?
Yes, so definitely. I mean, I don't directly work with the FIFA, but we just invited the head of the research for FIFA, who is from University of Tennessee. His name is Dr. John Sorokin, to give a talk about what he's doing with the FIFA. And then actually in a lot of, because they're going to host these events across the whole United States, North America, actually, from Canada down to Mexico. So it's across a very wide range of climates. So they're gonna need to use different cultivars and different species of grasses on the ground and make them feel the same. So there is a lot of challenge there. And then they're actually in our region, or for the so-called polar climates or a transition zone, they're using a lot of the sod actually come from the grower from here, from New Jersey, that we just mentioned. So they're using not just the Rutgers cultivar, but they're using a lot of the New Jersey sod. So, but I don't directly, I'm not involved in that program. Our breeder, Stacy Bonos, can probably speak more about that, what cultivars are actually using. But yes, the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that aspect of when they're playing in different arenas, that you want to have the turf be as similar as possible. Yeah. And I know here in New Jersey, we have warm and cool season turf. And one of the challenges of homeowners is that if you have like warm, cool season grass in your yard and it's beautiful, and then all of a sudden, you know, July hits and your lawn goes dormant, that's the planning for that is really something that we need to concentrate on here.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Like when you go drive, and then if you pay any attention on the roadway, you sometimes see some lawns are like completely brown in the winter. Mm-hmm. That is indication of using warm climate grass, mm-hmm. whereas some are still green. That's indication of using cold climate grass. And then they each of them have their advantages and you know their pros and cons. It's not worse because we're in the transition zone and we can kind of see the shifting in climate zone. So actually, the turf program here at Rutgers is investigating what are the futures like, what if we need to use more and more of those warm climate grasses, or if we can breed our cool climate grass to tolerate more of the summer stress or something like that. So we're trying to figure out a solution there.
So just like we have the Rutgers tomato, we need to have the Rutgers seed mix to do our New Jersey yards. That would be great.
Yeah.
Claudia, I believe I heard recently that you were submitting an abstract for a conference coming up. Can you tell us a little bit about your current research and what you're specifically working on?
I don't know exactly which conference you're referring to, but
okay, I'm sorry.
No, but right now I'm working with a group of universities in the Northeast region. They're working with a grant to develop tools or templates for business planning specific to agritourism. So let's say a farmer wants to start, offering some agritourism activities in their farm, but they really don't know where to start, or let's say they want to apply for funding. So they most likely will be asked to put together a business plan. And, farmers do deal with business, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have, all the skills or know exactly how to put together a document like that. So that program has been offering some webinars, offering training on how to develop the business plan, but also kind of receiving inquiries like from all over the Northeast region, from farmers that want to get into agritourism and just need a more one-on-one support from someone. And so we're offering some consults to those farmers. And so far, it has been quite well attended. People seem to be responding very well. There's a lot of interest, more than we thought there would be. Even like we knew this was an emerging, I guess, topic or something that people were starting to be more interested on. But it has definitely been a lot more than we were anticipating, which is great because that means that there's a need for tools and that we're able to offer them. So that's daily what I've been focused on.
So if you had to think about the future of agriculture in southern New Jersey, what are some of the challenges or issues that we're going to have to address in the future?
Well, I think overall, and I don't think this is particular to agriculture, but in general, climate change, it's a major issue that agriculture constantly needs to adjust to. There's some commodities that may require, much more investment and they are no longer profitable and they might need to, be set aside and favor some others. With the zoning or areas also changing, that might also require some adjustments in terms of, how the sowing and harvesting seasons may shift as well. So we do need to start thinking in terms of it not being a static sort of industry anymore, or something that can be done the exact same way over and over, but something that can be more flexible and allow for some, changes and adaptations to everything that's happening. Yeah,
I would imagine that would be really a big challenge for a farmer who might have done blueberries for their whole, the whole history of their farm. And now they might have to shift or put some different variety into the crops that they grow. That would be really challenging. So I understand that focus area. So Ming-Yi, I'm going to ask you the same question. As we look to the future, what are the issues that you think that we need to be looking at in turf?
Yeah, so a lot of what I do is actually trying to make the more advanced technology available to the turfgrass manager or the grower. That's what we call them. So for the past 10, 15 years, there is a lot of advances in biological technologies, right? So there is a lot of knowledge gained through those developmental not through science or through engineer. But a lot of time, those are not directly translatable into day-to-day work. So for some of my research projects, I actually trying to take advantage of those technologies. I give you some example like metagenomics sequencing or digital PCRs, to use those to explore or to revisit what we know. And then that actually gives us ideas of defining or redefining what we know. So an example is the pathogen or disease, because that's what I work on. In the past, we think usually when we see a disease that's we'll think it's caused by one pathogen. But now by using metagenomic sequencing technologies, we gradually understanding and get more and more evidence showing that a lot of time you're seeing one disease is caused by several different species of pathogen. They work together. A lot of time they're even cross-kingdom. So there would probably be one or two main players, but there would be very important facilitators for the pathogen in order to create that disease. Without a facilitator, it's really difficult, even or sometimes impossible, for what we think it's the pathogen to cause the problem. And that is what we see as pathologists a lot is, we sometimes try to replicate the disease problem from the field. So we take what we think is the causal agent and put it in our field, and nothing happened. And that is because there is lack of all the other microbial partners or those virulent teammates to play together and cause disease. So with those more advanced technology, we actually understand the causation of disease better, and then so we can actually develop more effective methods or even fungicides or management practices to control the disease in the preventative way. That's just an example. There are actually several other line of research that I'm doing, trying to develop a disease supportive service for the grower, for the turfgrass managers. One good example is to use digital PCR to sensitively quantifying the pathogen load. So a lot of times they don't know when to put down fungicide. And fungicide, we'll think about fungicide as a lot of time people think it's an evil thing, right? Because we know for a fact that it's not great for the environment, a lot of time for the synthetic fungicide. And for a fact that turfgrass managers don't like to use them because they're expensive. And they know it's, they're not, they have negative impact on human health as well. So actually people want to try to use it as little as possible, but they just don't know how to do that. And with some of the services that I'm trying to develop right now using digital PCR, actually you can tell them how much pathogen they actually have. And if it's critical enough for them to put down several $100s per acre worth of fungicide. So that's what I'm trying to bring from the recent development of technology and biological understanding into a more practical realm, into day-to-day management.
Well, I just applaud your efforts. I'd love to have you come out and speak to our volunteers about that. It's fascinating to me.
Thank you.
Would you like to say anything else to the group before we open up to questions?
No.
Claudia, do you have anything you'd like to add before we open up to the group for questions?
No.
All right. Well, I'm happy to entertain questions from the audience. If you have something you'd like to ask one of the folks here, up we do. I have, what are some of the agriculture or economic challenges to opening more vineyards in New Jersey? And are there any groups that grow especially, or grapes that grow especially well in New Jersey?
I'm not a grape expert, so I don't know specifically which one would grow well here. I know that that in general, it's very expensive, so that's a major challenge. It's expensive because of the amount of land you might need. It's expensive because grapes can be very susceptible to fungi and other diseases, and so you do need to account for that. Plus, the amount of time that it takes to grow is not something that you grow in a pot for like 30 days. Like some vegetables, like it takes quite some time to get a vineyard established, and then some more time to actually start producing wine. I know there's a very romanticized view of a vineyard sometimes, that they think that this is something that they can easily do, but it's actually quite, it's not impossible, but it can be costly, and it definitely needs for you to be committed, in a long term for it to be successful.
Yeah, I resonate very well with what Claudia just said, because my background is actually in viticulture, winemaking, and I work in in upstate New York and grape industry, and also Napa Valley for some years. So actually, the challenge in in New Jersey or the overall Northeast is the humidity and the winter kill as well. I mean, when it gets really cold, it's sometimes for grapevines are okay, but the fluctuation of temperature, especially in the winter, it gets cold, but it warms up for a few days and get cold again, is a problem because when it gets cold and it stays, the grapevine can go into dormant and they're okay. They can tolerate very low temperature. However, those few spikes of warmer temperature wakes the grapes up, and then when it gets cold again, that basically kills all the buds. So that's one problem. Another problem is the humidity, like Claudia mentioned. There's so many diseases. You have to spray more. So people think that golf course sprays a lot, but no. Vineyard in a challenging climate will have to spray even more in order to keep any viable clusters to make into anything, any wine or any juice or grape. So I think the future is to use hybrid. There are several American French hybrid grape cultivars available. They're just, the problem is the consumer perception, because when people buy a bottle of wine, they want the names that they recognize it, right? The Chardonnay, Riesling, Cabernet Sauvignon. However, those are originated from France or from the old world, and they're just not they're not native here, so they're not very good at dealing with the environment condition like ours. But the French American hybrid, a lot of times it will provide those disease resistance or the right vine balance, and also provide those aromatic profile that you'd be looking for on like a French cultivars. So I think there are opportunity there. Like Claudia said, it needs to be very committed to start a vineyard. We always make the joke, if you want to make $1 million out of a grape and wine industry, you need to start with 2 million after 5 years left.
Yeah.
And that's very true, actually, because if you want to start a vineyard, you have to wait at least 4 or 5 years before you have any production.
Yeah.
And then if you want to make quality wine, a lot of time it takes longer because you have to age, you have to figure out the facility, the supply, all of those issues combined. You're looking for 10 years, maybe even more before you have any real return. So I resonate a lot with what Claudia said.
Well, thank you guys for that. Do we have any other questions in the audience? I can't see hands, so if you'd like to ask a question, or if one of the other moderators could let me know if someone is raising their hand.
I have a question.
Okay.
So a question for Ming-Yi. I was just wondering, I think some time back I had learned about a training program for tough grass. I'm wondering if that still exists, and if it does, who are your applicants? Are they international applicants, or are they all from North America, or where do they come from?
Sorry, you said what applicant, what program are you referring to?
Tough grass? Is there a training program for tough grass?
The training program?
Yes.
Oh, you mean the OPC program? The continuing education program?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. For continuing education program, usually their applicants will from around the area, basically. Most of them from New Jersey. I'm not 100%. I'm not really involved in that program, but from what I know, I can only speak about from what I know. A lot of people will be from around the area in the Northeast. Some of them from the Midwest, but very rarely we see internationals. Yeah, but because our program is so famous, so usually what people do is they will send their assistant manager, like what we call in our industry assistant superintendent, to come and receive the education. So once they graduate, actually it's a way for them to be promoted. into a superintendent. So that's what usually people do, and then they will send people with experience, and they know that identify the potential within them in the industry. People will send their so-called the best crew to our program.
So one thing I would like to leave us with is the idea that as extension employees, as faculty, we are very interested in collaboration. There's just so much work to do, but there are so many stakeholders throughout the state. And so I encourage anyone who's either listening or even part of our participation group of the people who have organized this. We love in the extension to serve, and we serve through research and education, and collaborations are really one of the best ways to do that. So if any of you are interested in connecting with one of our guests today, or have an idea and aren't sure how to plug into the extension, but you think there's a possibility, you could reach out to me. I would be happy to connect you with the appropriate people so we can take care of our wonderful state of New Jersey. So I'd like to thank Ming-Yi and Claudia for your time today and for this wonderful opportunity for us to have this discussion. And if there are no further questions, we're going to put a QR code on the screen. And this QR code takes you to a survey. And in the extension office, we take feedback very seriously. And all three of us are pre-tenure, and it does help our tenure process to get feedback. So if you wouldn't mind, we're interested in knowing your interest in future programs and your feedback about our talk today. And if you could hit that QR code and give us some feedback, you really do help us, and you help us meet our mission as well. So thank you, everyone, and I look forward to future discussions.